Hello, everybody. Welcome to Our Ladies Urmia. This is a joint meeting with Our Ladies Gabune. Today we have our speaker. She's a teaching assistant in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Botswana. Her research interest is in data science and machine learning. She is the founder and co-organizer of Our Ladies Gabone and occasional blogger, and she enjoys creating data visualizations. Today, she wants to talk about visualization challenges, and we are very happy to have you. And thank you so much for your time. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Nazreen. Salam, everyone. I hope everyone is all right. I'm just going to share my screen. Here we go. I hope we can all see my screen.
Perfect. Yes, we can see.
Okay, let me put it in full screen. Right. Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you for the introduction, Nazreen. My name is Simisani Nogulunga Ndaba. I know it's a bit of a tongue twister because it's a mix of African languages. So today I'll be talking about the Du Bois Challenge started by Anthony Starks, who is so kind enough to join us today. And it's part of we'll be looking at part of the challenges in creating visualizations from data. We'll be going through the challenge itself and who W.E.B. Du Bois was, the man, the inspiration for the visualization challenge, this year's challenge, because every year there are 10 different charts that are chosen for participants to recreate. We'll be looking at some of the chosen plots and how they were recreated with R, and we'll also be looking at other data visualization challenges that you can take part in during the course of the year because they're many. Sometimes they can be weekly, daily, or monthly. As Nazreen was saying, I am the founder of Our Ladies Haboroni, and I'm an occasional blogger. I like to write about my data visualization projects, machine learning, and I also enjoy creating data visualization and plots. See, these are some of my data visualizations. Some of them are all of them are from this year. And I think the map is from a few years ago. And some of them were created from the challenges that we're going to look at. And if you want to look at them in detail, you can click on my GitHub repository. There, I have repositories of all the visualizations that I've created. So let me go back to full screen. And talking about the Du Bois Challenge, the Du Bois Challenge was, the Du Bois Challenge was created, well, it started in 2021 in February, which happens to be Black History Month. Um, Alan Secor Taylor reached out to Anthony Stark because they had seen online that he had recreated some of Du Bois's charts from the 1900s Paris Exposition. So they reached out to him and they wanted to make a challenge from it. They wanted to make an online challenge that everyone could take part in using modern tools, Observable, Python, Tableau, Power BI, and Anthony agreed. So Anthony, I think he had already he had curated the data, the charts, he had collected everything from that time, and he had created this repository that people could access and people could use the data to create their visualizations. So it started from 7 weeks and then they decided to make it 10 weeks. I'm not sure why Anthony decided to why you guys decided to make it 10 weeks, but even the challenge is a 10-week challenge, but people normally go over 10 weeks to share what they have. They normally share it in their social medias like Mastodon, Twitter, and they have a data visualization Slack channel. This year there was a competition for the contributor who contributed the most throughout the 10 weeks. They got a prize of a subscription to the Nightingale magazine. I wish I won that prize, but I don't know if the prizes are given out every year. So who was W.E.B. Du Bois, the man who is the inspiration for the challenge? W.E.B. Du Bois, W.E.B. stands for William Edgar Bogart Du Bois. He was an African American man born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, which is in the northern states of the United States in 1868, and he died at the age of 95 in Accra, Ghana, in 1963. And I'm not sure if you know American history, you'll see that the year he was born was the time of the early American Reconstruction, which was the time when America tried to rebuild the economy and the politics after the American Civil War. And his death, he died around the time of the civil rights in America, which started in the 50s and ended about in 1965, 1968. He's reported to be the first Black person to earn a PhD from Harvard, but he did his postgrad, he did his master's and his PhD in Harvard, but before then, he did his degree at Fisk University for his undergraduate. And that's the first time he experienced any racism, racial segregation, and oppression of Black people. And I think that's where he started to become an activist. Not only was he an activist for civil rights, he was also a sociologist, a journalist, and a lecturer. So when he graduated from Harvard, one of his jobs was working as a lecturer at the Atlanta University. That's where he created the exposition that he was going to use at the 1900 Paris Exposition with some of his colleagues as well as his students. He's also the co-founder of the National Advancement of the National Association of the Advancement for Colored People, which is the NAACP, and in 1911, he became the editor of the NAACP's Crisis magazine, which he used to tally lynches for lynches that were happening to Black people. And he also used it as a way, as a Black consciousness to sort of uplift the people who were oppressed at the time. And as you can see in the slides, I've posted a link as a reference if you want to read more about Du Bois and if you want to read more of Antony's Nightingale article. The Paris Exposition in 1900s was one of the biggest world fairs to happen at the time. There had been there had been four world fairs before, and in 1878, one of the expositions they used was the bust or the head of the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of Liberty, which is the statue just outside of New York. So before it was completed and they gave it to the Americans, they used the bust to show one of the creations they had made at the time. So during the turn of the century, there had been a lot of technological and industrial advancements in terms of what people use. I think that it was they would call it the Anthony. Can you I don't know if they at the time they would call it the Gilded Age, or did it happen before?
Yeah, the Gilded Age was probably before, but yes, you could say that. So yeah, it was time
Oh,
of lots of technological changes.
right. So I think it was the second industrial revolution, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that at the time of the telephone and at the Paris expedition, they would showcase the talking movies because before then there were silent films. There were also that was the year that they premiered the underground Paris Metro, which had never been done anywhere else in the world. And in the same year, Paris hosted the Olympic Games. And since this year, Paris is hosting the Olympic Games again, it would be 124 years since they hosted it at the time. So Du Bois thought that it was a good opportunity to showcase his exposition, which was called The American Negro, to show the progress of Black people, how far they had come from slavery. Because at the time, they only, people who hadn't had contact with African Americans and Black people only knew of the stereotypes of what they've seen in the media And this was a good time to show that no, these are people who are educated. They go to school, they play with their friends, and they're just normal human beings like everyone else. And it was so impressive that I think he won an award. I think it was the best showcased exposition. And note at the time there were about 1,000 expositions that were happening, and his one like the best. I think because of all his charts, because he had I think 100 charts plots that he had recorded and shown, and 50 photographs of African American people. So this year, I didn't mention this yesterday, but this year they used the Pan-African colors. So the Pan-African colors are red, black, and green. And if you're not aware of Pan-Africanism, it's a movement that is a sort of like a solidarity for Black people around the world. But some people who are Pan-Africans feel that it's only supposed to be Africans supposed to coming together and African Americans coming together. But this year, that's how some people believe it to be. So those are the color themes that the challenge this year was supposed to focus on. So we can see the top, they started with the red. There's the map of the state of Georgia, an area chart and a bar chart that comes vertically using the red colors. There's the black showing the map of the world, the stacked bar chart, and we'll call it a stanky chart, but it's on its side. We have a vertical bar chart, a bar chart again, area chart, and the last final week was a pie chart with from which have some text annotations. So I'm just want to give you a trigger warning that the words and the names and the titles that I use in the charts were referred to Black people at the time. And Du Bois also uses them just to be because that's what people refer to and you Black people to. That's how they refer to Black people, but I don't use them very lightly, and I just use them for educational purposes, and I don't use them all the time, and these words should never ever be used again. But like I said, we're using these words for educational purposes and for us to learn. So starting with the first week, they curated week one to use the Negro population of Georgia by counties. So this chart showed what Du Bois did. And by the way, all these charts that we're going to be looking at were done by hand by Du Bois himself. At the time, he had very little money to get sponsorship to create these charts. So he did them all by hand, by pencil, and by using pencil ink, not crayons, but colored pencils. So it was very impressive. So this plot looks at 10 years in between 1870 and 1880 of the rise of the Black people in the state of Georgia. So what I did, I didn't think that I was going to finish the challenge. I just wanted to see if I could use R. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be copying the R code from here. We just move this. We're copying the R code from here, and I'll be pasting it on the Rstudio. So I'm going to stop sharing the slides and I'm going to share my Rstudio. Now that I've copied, so sorry about that. My phone is on. Someone is trying to call me from work. Let me copy the code. Stop sharing. I will share my Rstudio. Okay. Right. Can we all see my Rstudio?
Yes, yes, we can see.
You can see it. Okay. I think that's all right. Okay, now that we all see it, I'm going to open my R script here. So for those of us who are not familiar with using R, we're going to have to install R programming in your machine, your laptop, your desktop, and you have to install the Rstudio IDE in order for you to see how it works. And after you've installed it, you open Rstudio and you create a new R script, and that's what we've opened right now. Now that I've copied the R code. I'm going to paste it here, and we're going to look at it line by line. There's some charts that we're not, there's some charts that we're going to look at, because if we look at all of them, we might be here all day for the rest of the day. So I'm going to start with chart one, which was week one. And also the Du Bois challenge is for people to recreate and show their charts every week. So you can work on it every week and you show it for the next 10 weeks. Now that our code is here, I'm just going to comment out the installation of the packages, because these packages are already installed on my RStudio, and when they're installed, we can load them. So these are some of the packages that we're going to be using. The tidyverse to get it in order for us to use the tables, the ggplot that allows us to use certain plots, the dplyr. I added the dplyr because while I was creating the plots, I couldn't use the tidyverse. I don't know if it was because of my connection, but I installed dplyr, the ggforce, in order for me to use the geom circle. Remember, we'll be creating the legends that have the circles. I wanted the maps package to get the state of Georgia and get the counties in Georgia, and the cow plot for combining the plot. So what I did was I wanted to, because if you could look back at the week one challenge, they're sort of, I would say they're sort of four plots in one. They're two maps of Georgia and they're two legends. So I wanted to create four plots, the two maps of Georgia and the two legends, and combine all of them using the cow plot. You go to the console, I want to, if we run all the packages, oh, I didn't highlight this one as well. If we, highlight all the packages and we run them in RStudio, and we're free to begin. So for this challenge, it had two data sets, one for 1870 and the other one for 1880. And to get the data, I had copied it in my GitHub repository, and all I had to do was read it using the tidyverse read R. And once I run it, it's in my RStudio. And as for I did the same for 1880 data. And another thing, I just looked at it again, and instead of doing the data wrangling, I needed to first get the chart. I needed to get the state of Georgia. So what I'm going to do is, let me take this part from here. Yeah, let me take that part from there, paste it. Yes. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be taking world, the world data set from the map package. I'm just going to run it there. And I'm going to take the state of the USA and put it in the USA underscore states variable. And from there, I'll be taking the region of Georgia, and I'll put it in the Georgia state. And from there, I'll also take every single county in the Georgia state. I don't know how many there are. I think there's 72 or 50. I honestly, I didn't count. So we'll be taking the counties, and from the counties there, I'm going to take the counties of Georgia and put them in the state of Georgia. And if we take a look at it, we can see, now that it's been recorded, and if we open it, we should be seeing the data set for Georgia. So this is the Georgia data set. We can see the longitude and the latitude, the group and order by sub-region, which are the counties of the state of Georgia. Now that we have the Georgia state, we can move on to, okay, let's take a look at the data set that we just loaded, which one was this? Data set, which one? Oh, data 18, look at data 1870. Mhm. Now that we've opened data for 1870, we can see the counties or the sub-regions are the same, but the sub-regions in the Georgia count from the map package are all in small letters. So that is what we're going to have to change here. And we can also see the county column is called county, and in the map package, it's called sub-region. So we're going to have to change the from capital letters to the lowercase and the name of the column from county to sub-region in order for us to merge the map from the map from the map package and the data from 1870 that we had. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to be doing the wrangling, changing it from uppercase to lowercase. We're changing it by name. Also going to change the column name from population to sub-region. And from there, we're going to create the sub-region name from what we changed it to. And from there, we're going to add that column to the data set. So I think it should be, let's see how it's looking now. Data 1817. Hey. Yeah, now we can see it's changed. The county names have been changed from uppercase to lowercase, and the column has been changed from county to sub-region. We're going to do the same for the 1880 data set. I'm just going to highlight those three, and let's see if they also changed in this data set. Yeah, you can see that they've changed in the 1880s data set, and I think we are ready to start merging the columns. So what we're going to do is that we're going to start merging the columns that we have here from the map package and the newly changed 1870 and 1880 data set. So what we're going to do is we're going to merge it using the sub-region column for 1870 and 1880, and we're also going to change the ordering. We're going to change the ordering by the columns. We're first going to start with the second column, the third column, the fourth column, and so R is going to pick up the column by the indexes, and it's going to be arranged in the column indexes we set it to. Now that let's see if they've changed the ordering. Let's look at 1880 county. Yes, as we can see, they've been merged by you can see that population has been added to the population which was from the 1880s and from the 1880s data set has been merged with the map data set. So now we have one data set, which is good, and we can continue working on that data set. So if we look back at the data, where am I? Yeah, here. If we look back at the data, we can see that in the population column, it has a value and it has a symbol indicating the maximum and the lower, and it does that for most of them. Some of them are also not applicable, which we won't really mind, but we need to sort out uh, the symbol. Where did I see it? Ah, here it is. We need to sort out the symbol. And because we're not sure, because how many? There are about over 5,000 entries, we're just going to try and standardize them. That's why here, for this column here, we've said that whatever value has more than 1,000 will be changed to just 1,000. And we have done that for the different ranges within the column. I'm just going to highlight all the lines so that when we run, everything is standardized. And we're going to do the same with the 1880s data set. If we run that, everything is okay. I think everything is fine. And now that we've sorted out our data set from there, we're going to start working on plotting let's start first plotting our 1870s data set. Over here, we'll be using ggplot, and I've given it a name because there's a lot going on. We have to add the colors, we have to set we have to set the text annotation. We're going to be using the 1870s Georgia counties data set, the one that we just sorted out on top. We're going to be using the longitude and latitude in order to create the map. We're grouping by and filling, we're going to group and fill by the population. So we use the geom polygon. The geom polygon is part of R that helps us set the aesthetics of the mapping, also used to create the state and for mapping. When it comes to creating maps, we use the polygon. We use the latitude and the longitude. The latitude and the longitude always has to be within the data set. Otherwise, we can't use the polygon. Or you're going to have to get the longitude and the latitude columns from another source. We set it to black. I think the black would be the outline of the states. And to fill the different colors of the states, this was before I found out that there is a Du Bois style guide. So before, I don't know if I can go back to the style guide, but I'm just going to share it at the end that there is a Du Bois style guide that it does give the color coding of the colors in the different plots. I didn't know that before, so I just used what I could see. I could use dark green, yellow, and chocolate and salmon for the different states. So we use the scale fill manual. We use this to set the colors based on the categories, which are the states. And I changed them to void, the theme of the plot to void so that I could remove the lines and the titles of the x-axis and the y-axis. I also added the title. Oh no, did I add the title? No, I added the title and the text annotation. And after completing all of that, I was able to create the state of Georgia in 1870. I hope it's very clear. And as you can see, all the states are um, set by population, and the population was set by the color. Some of them are gray because they were missing. I didn't think that well, not that I didn't think, I didn't think of changing them because I was gonna have to see which state had the not applicable. And with over 5,000, I just wasn't about to take that time. But as you can see, most of them have been set. Most of the states have been set. And to deal with one of the legends, let's start with the top right legend. The top right legend, if you can go back to your slides, has, I think, three. Yes, there are three states which show the 10,000 to 15,000, 15 to 20, and between 20,000 to 30,000. So what I did was I created a blank plot, a 10 by 12 plot, 10 for 10 points in the x-axis and the 12 points in the y-axis. And I wanted to put in the different circles to set the legends. So I used the geom circle, and I tried to sort out the position of where the circle could be so that they could be in one vertical line. I did that with the three, and I put the colors, midnight blue, chocolate, and tan. And I also changed the scale so that it would be limited from 0 to 10 in the x-axis, so it wouldn't go beyond. And at the bottom, I added the text to it, and all together, if I can run it, I managed to get the legend, which is, I think, a bit similar. And I tried to align them as possible. And that's what I did for the other map, the other Georgia map for 1880, and the other legend that comes at the bottom left. And if we go through it again using the same style, we get that's our bottom left legend. And for our 1880 plot, if we run it, we get our 1880 Georgia map. So to combine everything together, I used the cow plot. I first added the title on top. I annotated it using the draw label, which is part of the cow plot package. And I used the plot grid to combine all the four plots and I aligned them using a specific alignment. And when I ran them together, I think if we run them together, we can see we have an outline of it. And to add more, to add the background color and to add the text of it all, I had to add the title, which I think I put on top there. I'm not sure where it is. And if I run it, we get the final, should be getting the final plot. And to add my caption at the bottom, I had to add the GG draw to add my text annotation. So to add it, we get the final plot. And to save it based on the width and the height, I use the GG save to get a nice proper, now that it's saved, to get a nice proper chart. If we look at, okay, if we refresh this, we should be seeing challenge one. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can take a look at the final plot. Do we all see the plot, the final one? Do we all see how it's looking?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we see it, yeah. So this is what we get using our programming. And it's not to say that this is the capability of our programming. It is based on my capabilities. It's not, if we can, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's close to the original. And I can see that the title could have been in the middle and the plots could have been a lot closer together and the color could have been a bit darker. So I'm going to stop sharing that and going back to the slides. Now that we've looked at the R code, we can see the output that was generated. And if we put them side by side, we can see the original and the recreation. You can see it's similar, but as I said before, I could have put the title in the middle there, and the color could have been darker. And of course, the states that had no values could also have been sorted out. And there's week 2 of the challenge. I think this was the last one I worked on because I couldn't figure out how to shade the black and the red, but I did manage eventually. And I sort of got something that's similar to it. But as you can see, when we put the original and the recreation together, I didn't put the red shade, the shade of red at the bottom, and I also did change the transparency of the colors to make it look exactly there. No, also then I also didn't put the white lines there, but I did change the text font of the plots to make it look like the original. There's week 5 that used a stack bar chart, but I think with this one it's straightforward. I want to mostly look at I want to mostly look at the charts that I thought were a little bit complicated to create with R. This is the output of the R code for it. And if we can put them side by side, they look sort of similar. But of course, the colors could have been darker and the fonts for the labels could also have been changed to make it look more like the original. There's week 7, which I think we will look at because it's a vertical bar chart, and there's also a red line, a red bar in the middle of the chart. So that could be very interesting to look at. I'm gonna copy the code, stop sharing. I'm gonna go back to Rstudio. Okay, now that we've sorted out, save. Now that we worked on the first challenge, let's work on the second one. Okay, I'm gonna clear the console and open a new script, paste it, and go through it line by line. I'm not going to install the packages because they've already been installed. I will load the libraries, and I'll also be extracting the data set, the data values from the data set. And if we can take a look at the challenge 7 data set, if we can see how it's looking, we can see that there are 9 rows. And if you've noticed that the top column has the country and the second column has a value. And I think the top columns were supposed to these were supposed to be the labels, yeah. So now that we see that that's a problem, make we have to create a row I think that's row many to be part of the rows, and 7.29363 as part of the second part, the second column. So what we do is we're going to be using an R bind that creates it's going to create another row to the data set. So we have to give it the name row mini and 7.2, and we add it to the data set. When we run it, you can see it's okay. And in order for us to create the top row as the labels, we're going to have to set the column name for the top row as country and the second column as proposition and position. And if we run them, it should be okay. Now let's take a look at the challenge 7. It should be, yeah, it should be all right now. We can see the row has been created with the proper column names. And in order to create the bar charts, in order for them to show that there is the different literacies in the different countries, I had to add them according to how the different literacies had. So based on what I did was I put another column called literacy, and under that column I put in like other and the Negroes and other based on the country. I don't know where I got that from, but if I run it in order for the stack lines to show, okay, that's in it. That's fine. If we take a look at it, you can see literacy, other Negroes based on the country. And in order for us to show, it's fine. In order for us to show the numeric value of the bar chart, we could times it by 10. I think that should be okay. And to also rearrange it, because isn't it in the original plot, we see that they're going, it goes by descending order. So we have to arrange it by the proposition, the proportion, is that proportion? Anthony, you might see, why am I not saying it properly? But anyway, we had to arrange it by that column. And we also arranged the column country by making it a factor. So we change it as a factor in order to take it as a category. So every category value in the country would be changed to a level. Are we together? That means that every country is a unique value. And if we run it, we can see that if we run it, we can see it's been arranged by order, which we want. And now that it's been arranged by order, we can create the plot. Once again, we're going to be using ggplot, but I haven't put the plot inside a variable. I'm just going to create it as it is. We'll be using the data sets, and we're going to use the country and the position, and we're going to fill it by the literacy. Oh, yes. I remember now. I remember now why I used the literacy. I added the literacy for color purposes. Yes. So the other was used for the green color, and the Negroes was for the red color. I remember now. I'm sorry, it's coming back to me. I wrote this code I think in March or in February, beginning of the year, when the challenge was still going on. So it's coming back to me slowly. Right. So we're going to be using the minimal theme because I think some of the lines are showing. And in the labs method, we're going to add the title of the plot, the subtitle, and the caption from which shows the date, the source of the data, as well as my name. We're going to be using the mono text style. The position of the legend, we set it to none, which means that there'll be no legend showing. So we're going to have to change. I change the size and the adjustment of the title. This time I put the text in the middle of the top, the same with the subtitle caption. The background, I use the papaya whip. I used the papaya whip, which was close to the original background color. And I set these axes to blank because in the original there is no text axis. And the geom color, I set the width to 0.6. The position is also, the width is 0.9. And the scale, the categories for the literacy column is set to red and dark green. And I also flipped the bar chart so that it could come out looking like the original vertical bar charts. And if I run it there, we could see the recreated plot. And if we save it based on the width, which is 12, and we get the height, we get a nice looking plot. Now that it's saved, let me refresh this area. This is challenge 7. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so we can look at the recreated plot. And if we can all see it, we can see how the plot is looking close to the original. We've got the red bar in the middle, which shows the color of the literacy. I think, yeah, these were the American Negroes, and we can see how small the Swede country is, just like the original. If we go back to, okay, let me go back to this plot. I hope I'm not taking too much time. Okay, I think there's time to do more plots. Looking at the R outputs and putting them together, putting it side by side with the original, you can see that the difference is the color, of course, and also the recreation doesn't look colored in just like the original. But I know there's a feature in R. I think there's a package that allows you to create a rough looking plot that comes out like the original. There's the 8th week that has that has 2 stacked plots with a description. And looking at I think in everyone's own time, you can copy and paste it, and it should be coming out this way based on my code that I've written. But if you like tweak it and everything, it may look more like the original. And when we put it side by side, you'd notice that the original has dashed lines coming from 1960 going to the 1890 bar bar plot. But I don't have it in my recreation because I'm telling you, when I finished, I didn't see it. I only noticed it afterwards. Then I thought, you know what? I'm done with it. Let me just let me just post it. Yes, I'm a lazy programmer. What can I say? So moving on to the 9th week, we have the area chart showing the proportion of free men and slaves among American Negroes. So this one looks a bit complicated, but it's not. It's all about how you change the data set. And as you can see, looking at the color, it looked colored in, which I didn't have. I didn't know of the package that could make it look rough. So I just tried to make it um try to make it as close to the original as possible. Let me go back to Rstudio and see how we did it. Save. Let me clear the console. Open a new script. Okay, now that we have our packages, we're going to load the data set, which was in challenge 9. So it shows that we have 3 columns, I think, if we can just open it. If we open it up, oh, okay, no, yeah. There are 3 columns. The year slave and free with 9 rows. So if we look at it, if now that we're going to be plotting this data set, if we're going to be plotting this data set with the data looking this way, it wouldn't really be easy because for the point, let's say if we try and plot 1780, we're going to be needing 2 points. But because they're in different columns, it wouldn't be very possible. So what I did was I had to change the format. Instead of making it a wide format, I changed it to a long format with the tidier pivot longer. So I changed the status and the count from wide to long. And if we look at the new data set that has been pivoted, we can see that it's changed. It has two different columns, which has the years 1790, which has 92 and 80. So they're different rows. So that if we plot the 1790, it can plot the two values, 92 and 8. But we'll see it as we go along. Now that we have our new data set, that's what we're going to be using to plot. That's what we're going to be using to plot the stacked data. Using ggplot, we're going to use the year as the x-axis, the count, and fill it in by the status, the slaves and the free people. Using the geom area, we're going to be using black to separate the 2 different categories, which are dark and black, using the scale fill manual, because we use the scale fill manual for category and the scale fill continuous for discrete values. So in this case, because they're categorical, we'll use the manual. So all these lines were used to annotate the text. If we take a look at the first one, we could see the geom text for the annotate. We put the label as slaves, and this comes at the bottom. This comes at the bottom area of the of the chart, the area of the plot. Yes, and the font face we changed it to bold. So in order for us to see it, the size of it was 12, and the color is white. And we had to plot this text at the x-axis, which was 1825, and the y-axis, which was at 50, so that we could get the exact position. And that's what I did for all the texts, because looking at the original, there are a lot of percentages and the text, and so that's what I had to do. I'm sure they could have been a better alternative, but this is what I could do. So to add to it, I had to remove the lines at the back in order to make it look like the original. I added the main title, subtitle, and the caption for the plot, and to change the color of the color and the position and the font size of the title, subtitle, and the caption, we do that all under the theme. So we set the labels for title, subtitle, and caption, and we change the font and the color and the adjustment in the theme for title, subtitle, and caption. And we set the whole plot background to papaya whip with none option to remove the legend. And if we run all of this, it should be looking okay. But looking at the output here, it looks all squashed. But if we use GG save, if I can set it to 10 width and to 12, so that it could look bigger and wider, shows that it's okay. Go to the files. But before, if you're going to be creating any output, you have to refresh. the output in order for it to change. So it shows that I'm going to stop sharing the RStudio so we could look at the output. Where's the output? So then now we have the R generated output, which looks similar to the original. However, I think the problem would be the colors. That would be the only difference. Here is very solid, but the original looks more colored in. I go back to the slides. There we have the R output. And if we put them side by side, we can see that they are a bit similar, except that the color for the recreation could have been darker, and the colors within the area chart could have been looked more colored in. I have to get the name of the package that makes it looks rough. But I forgot. I know it's in the data visualization Slack channel. I'm going to find it, and I'm also going to send it to Nazria. Nazreen, sorry. So looking at the final chart, which was the final week of the challenge, it shows the series of statistical charts illustrating the condition of the descendants of former African slaves now resident in the USA. Looking at the chart, you can see it looks very involved. There's a lot of it's a bit complex because of the small map on top and the pie chart with the legends at the sides. You know that if I'm just thinking when Du Bois was creating it, I thought he had endless possibilities to create it because he was doing it by hand. But coming up with it using a programming language, well, I wouldn't say that it would be the first it would be the first design to you wouldn't think of creating something so complicated. But I didn't think I was also going to create it, but I just gave it a go because it was the last week. So this one is a little bit long, like the first one. What we're going to do is look at it in RStudio. I'm going to copy it there. We stop sharing again and go to RStudio. I'm going to remove what we worked on before. Don't save. I'm going to open a new R script, paste it there. Mhm. We have to, don't forget, whenever you're using RStudio, you have to remember to install the packages. Now that the additional packages that I thought I was going to use was ggtext, ggfx, which I didn't end up using, so I just left them there. But we are going to be using cowplot and the ggforce for the circles like we did for the first plot. The maps in order to get the state of Georgia and its counties and tidyverse and ggplot to create plots. After running it, we have everything there. What we're going to do here is with this line, we're going to extract the data set, and we're going to put it into the variable called challenge 10. Now that it's been loaded, we're going to take a look at it. Yeah, we're going to take a look at the challenge 10 data set, which shows that there are 2 columns and 6 rows, which I believe is for the pie chart. But for the other chart, like the map, I don't remember seeing a data set, but we're going to try and work on it. So you have to remember every time you're going to be, before you do any visualization, you have to look at the data set and see how you can change it to see if any anomalies, missing data, like the way we saw for challenge 7, we saw that I think the top row was supposed to be labeled, but instead it came out looking like one of the values in the data set. So from here, what we're going to do first, now that we've seen the data set and what we have, what I'm gonna do first is that I'm going to start from the top. And if you remember looking at the chart, they had text it had the title, it had the main text, the subtext, and it had the map of the USA. It had 2 texts on the side. And if you've noticed, it's not too clear, but some of the charts are bilingual. You can see that some texts are in English and another text is the translation, which is in French. So it had to be in French because of the audience of the audience of the exposition because it was in France. So in order to create the text annotation, I created a blank plot, 5 by 12 plot, and in it I set the text size to 6. I used the mono font style, and I also put it, I had to align it at a certain point within the plot. So the top one would be called my title top, which is the title of the plot. And I also annotated the French translation, which will come at the bottom. And doing that, I also had to create a 5 by 12 empty plot, and I added the annotation. And if you want to see how it looks like, let's look at the subtitle. There's a subtitle top. Please review. View. Okay. I don't know why it's showing that. Subtitle. If I run it again, okay. If I say view, okay, it's not sure. I'm not really sure how why it's not showing, but anyway, it will be coming out later as we go along. So in order to get this map of the USA, I had to once again use the map package and get the state which represents the USA states. And in order to set the colors based on the states of America, I had to look at every color of every state and I had to set it to different colors and align them to the states, which took some time, but it was a bit fun learning about all the states of America. So I had to set the colors. I had to set not the colors. I had to set the states from capital to lowercase, and I set them in the state colors, which I'll be using later in the plot. And now that I have my state colors, I can create the US map using ggplot. Using the geom polygon to create the map, I used the longitude and the latitude and I filtered by region. I used the state colors in the scale fill manual because it's categorical. I also used the quote fixed in order to get the proper shape of the map, and I annotated the center. And I annotated the caption, which comes at the bottom of the plot. Oh, where am I? Yeah. And after doing all of that, it ran. And if I open it, we can see the output of the US state. And I think that's what I didn't do. If we go back to see the annotation here, to see the subtitle top, yeah, I think it should be, yeah, there it is. We can see the the French text, which comes at the top of the plot. So that's what I should have just left it like that. I shouldn't have put in view. I think view is for the data set. I've been using view to open the data sets. I got used to it. Now that we have our US map based on the colors, I am going to create more. I'm going to add more text annotations using a 5 by 12 blank plot. And I'm going to set the labels according to a fine point as we did earlier with the top text annotations. And that would be for the English. No, that would be the top annotation for the map. And there are two sides of the map that has the English description and a French side. Yeah, now that we have our top part, we're going to move on to creating the pie chart. So in order to create the pie chart, remember we'll be using the challenge 10 datasets. So in order to create that, I want to change the order of the chart, which I'll be using the references from here, and I need to order them. Let's see, order 1, 2, 1, 3. Where am I getting this from? Data, outline. If I just let me just open, where am I getting the data from? Just want to see where I'm getting data from. Um, okay, no, and it's all right. I just wanted to try something. Okay. I had to order the columns by the index from the data set, and I had to add them to the data set called Arbind. Let's see, I'm getting an order the area, although I can't force it to be a vector, which won't affect the output of it. And from here, I'm going to add the order, percentage, and occupation in one data set. Cannot find occupation. How come I can't find occupation? Oh, I can't find occupation because what is the capital? How come I didn't add that? Okay, but I don't think it would affect it. I'm not sure why I added that. So if we put the percent, if we remove the percent, if we order the percentage in the challenge 10 data set, we can continue to create a column for ordering. So we order it by the rows. And if we open up the data sets, we can see, there we go, we have ordered them based on the percentage. So we've ordered them by percentage because the pie chart is descending. So it starts from the biggest slice to the smallest slice. So that's what we've organized there. And from here, we're going to adjust the order. So adjusting the order, we're going to be using the order. We're going to be using the order column. Yeah, we're going to be using the order column. So when we're plotting it, if this line is saying if it's going to go through the line, it's going to go through the columns, the rows, and if one value is bigger than the other, then it will come in front of it. If the next one is smaller than the other, it will come ahead of it. So in order to get that shape that we want, if I run it, yeah, it's okay. Now I'm going to use that data set to create I'm going to create the pie chart using the percentage and occupation to fill the slices. We're going to be using the ordering. We're also going to be using the geomba, but we're going to use the chord polar in order for us to create a pie looking chart. So when we're using pie, when we're creating pie charts or anything circular, we use pie in the chord polar. We're going to set the colors based on the categories in the data sets using the scale fill manual. We're going to create void to remove the back lines and the text. And we're also going to be using the color to show we're going to use the color black to show the different slices. If we run this, we get our pie chart. I hope we can all see it, but it's not looking like the original. I don't know what I did because we can see 28.1 is supposed to come after 58.5, but it's still looking close to it, close to the original. So now to create the side legends, the French side and the English side, we're gonna do like I'm gonna be doing like I did for the previous text annotations, create a 10 by 12 blank plot, and I'm going to annotate the text to it, but this time each circle is going to be filled by a certain color, and they're going to be placed at certain places within the plot so that it can look it can have that vertical layout. And if we run the code there, we have our English side. English side, it's not looking very straight because I think it's because of it's not looking straight because, well, it will be coming out straight when I set the width and the height at the bottom there. Sorry, okay, where was I? Which one is this? Okay, I think, all right, okay. And now that I have the English legend, I'm going to create the other side, which is the French side. And if we run it, we get our French looking side, which looks a lot more straight. So for the next text annotation, I created another 5 by 12 blank plot in order to place this whole text within a certain point of the blank plot. So what I did was I used this data set. And no, what I did was I used this blank plot in order to I had to use ggplot in order to create a blank plot, which was the NTBL. I just used any name for it, and I placed this whole text as it is in the original with, I think I removed that. So yeah, I think I added the caption at the bottom. And as I run it, if we look at it, it should show us a text annotation. You can see that let me just show you how it would look if it didn't have, okay. Let me just show you how it would look if we didn't have a theme. It would sort of kind of look like that. It needed to be set to void in order to remove the text, the X and Y text and background. Let me put it back so that it can join. Yeah, so it can join the combined plots. And this area created the caption. This area here created the text for the caption area that showed the source and who it was created by, doing it the same way as the previous text annotations. I created a blank plot and added the text annotated to it, and that will be showing in the combined plots at the bottom. So this is where we combine all the plots that we were creating just now. We're almost close to the end. So what we're going to do is that we're going to be adding a plot by plot to build on in order to create the final plot. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the titles that we did at the beginning. We're going to further add more of the top annotations, including the map, including to add to the map in the titles, we're going to add the pie chart and the pie chart annotations. And in order to create the final plot, we're going to have to put all of them together with the caption that we created there. As we put it together, we are going to add the papaya whip background plot, as well as setting the panel background to blank in order for us not to see the lines and everything that is unnecessary. Yeah, this time the plot shows. And if we set to 13 and 15 using the GG save in order to get a spacious plot, this is what challenge 10. Refresh the side. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And if we go back to the output, we see we have the final R output. It's looking a lot better. As we saw earlier, the English legends wasn't very it wasn't lined properly, but thanks to GG Save width and height scaling, it's looking a bit better. It's not as close to the original, but it is looking a lot similar. So going back to the plot, looking back at looking at the slides, you can see the R output and placing them together. The color could have been changed. The title, looking at the title, it also could have been a bit bigger. And I think I didn't add this other legend close to the map, and everything could have been close together. And as we have seen, the pie chart also was not arranged as I thought it was going to be. Otherwise, I had fun. I enjoyed creating, I enjoyed recreating these charts. It's definitely improved my data visualization. And if anyone gets an opportunity to be involved in any visualization challenge, you can definitely try it out. And creating a plot doesn't like take 5 minutes or an hour. It can take up to 3 hours to 5 hours, especially if you're trying a new tool or a new package. There's a lot of researching. I used a lot of this of I took most of my sources from what was the book called by Art Hadley Wickham, R for Data Science. There's a chapter there for creating plots. Most of the time, I just tried around the Stack. What is it called? Stack Overflow gives a lot of options of how you can create the plots. But otherwise, it was a lot of fun, and it helped me to also be involved in the 30-day chart challenge. So those other visualizations that you can take part in is the 30-day chart challenge, which is in April, but this one is more daily. You have to create a plot daily in order to complete the whole challenge. There's a 30-day map challenge, which actually was the first challenge that came before the daily chart challenge. So it was the map challenge which also allows people to create a map every day. So you can see how the Du Bois challenge can help you create a map as we've been doing. So in this one, we have to create a map daily. So if you have some practice, this won't be too hectic. We worked on points, we worked on polygons, we looked at different countries. And remember, we'll be using the Geom polygon method a lot. There's also the back to viz, which is a Tableau data visualization that works on the different features that make up a plot, which is the colors, the data, the lines. There's the Tidy Tuesday, I'm sure we're all familiar with, which comes out every week. And there's a data set, fortunately, that allows us to work on the data. We work on the data analysis and we use any tool we want. We can even create a Shiny app and we share our work on the Slack channel and the corresponding Tidy Tuesday socials. There's the storytelling with data, which is a monthly, wouldn't say a challenge, but what they do is that they post a data set and you have to work on that data set and you share it on the website and people can comment and give constructive criticism. So if you want to continue reading about the Du Bois biography, you can click on the link. These are all um, they all take you to a different link. You can review the diversity of exploring the visualizations. There's a full article on Anthony's article and the different other than you can look at the other charts that were not picked for this year, but the more complicated ones that you could take a look at and practice before the next year's one comes up. So if you like this presentation, this talk, you can reach out to me. You can follow me on Mastodon, LinkedIn. You can look at my GitHub and you can check out the Our Ladies Gaborone WhatsApp group. You can join the group. You can ask for permission to join it, and I can definitely add you. I wouldn't say it's unfortunate, but this WhatsApp group is more for the African region, but I do post adverts of workshops, articles, events that you can definitely join, conferences which are sponsored, and PhD and school opportunities. And with the request from the organizers, I have printed the slides. I had to add it quickly. So when you click on it, it takes you to the slides and Unfortunately, I didn't put the GitHub repository, but I think I will. I will definitely send it to Nazreen. Yeah, I think that's the end of the talk. Thank you so much for staying to the end. I know when it comes to looking at code line by line, it can be time consuming, but when you've recorded it and you go through it, it's actually you can see it better. You understand it a lot better when you go through the lines of code after it's been recorded. So you can just copy and paste it and change it and tune it in a way that you can understand it or make it create a different output. Thank you, Nazreen, and everyone
Thank
for
you
staying
so
to the
much.
end.
Wow, it was wonderful. I enjoy every second of it. Thank you so
Oh
much,
wow,
dear Timisani.
thank you.
Yeah, really, it was wonderful. Okay, I think Naomi wants to.
Hi, that's amazing. I'm really enjoyed, and thank you for you and Anthony and all your colleagues for developing these codes. Yes, really good. I have one of my questions about your first input of your data. Do you use the shape file and the world map data together, or just world map data?
I can answer that one. So, one of the participants of the challenge this year gave shape files, and they're actually in there. I have a pointer in the chat. So if you want to use shape files for the mapping, it's there as well. So when I originally did it, I didn't use shape files. I just used a bunch of CSV files, which had the geometries, which is the hard way to do it. But a lot of people came through and implemented the shape files. So the shape files are there in the repo.
Okay. And is it that this code can be used for other regions or other states or not possible yet? Uh,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
is it possible to use this script, this codes to the other regions to produce it similar maps?
Sure, I think so. So one of the things,
Yeah.
for example, that Dennis did, Dennis Quo was the professor that did it.
Mhm.
For this year's challenge, he used the population of San Diego, I think
Okay.
where he's based, to do
Yes.
that one as well. So yes. So
Yeah.
that I
Okay.
think that's part of the nice thing about the challenge is that people can make the data their own.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
can use their own data. You don't have to be using, like the original data. Use it your own, remix it, do whatever you like. So that's part of the idea. And the
Mhm.
other thing that I want to say is thank you for walking through the data. I think a lot of people learn by seeing and by showing the codes. So I think that's really, really helpful. That's a helpful part of it. So thank you for doing that.
Okay. I have a, a suggestion for your part chart, Simpson. I think that you can change the order of the numbers in your tables before you put uh, in the run. It can be correct your pie charts ordination. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can.
I also think so. If we put in the order the data if we sort the data, so
Yeah.
we can see, for example, 58%, then 28, and
Yeah. Yeah.
from the biggest. And also, I saw that we can also select an angle for it. For example, if it starts from the 90 degrees or something like
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, so amazing presentation. Let us know about the challenge. Yeah,
wonderful.
thanks.
So
Any
just
other? Uh-huh.
so just one more thing. I posted various links in the chat. I also do a recap of the challenge, which I also posted a link to, so you can go through that. I recently updated and added some of the recent data from your walkthrough, so it's in the recap now.
Thank you so much for the links. Yes, we'll all see it, and also we'll publish with this YouTube video to other persons, to the ones who missed this wonderful session. They can also watch it again. Any other questions from our speaker or Anthony? If you want, you can unmute yourself and ask question. I think we have one question in the chat. Maysam asks, can we produce some maps similar to ArcMap? I think I think that the quality of ArcMap is better. What do you think? You are mute.
Oh, sorry. Anthony, what do you think?
Unfortunately, I don't have any experience with that, so I can't really say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
I have experience, and I think there is no difference. You know, ArcMap is a software that we need to have the license. We need to buy it. But nowadays, everything going to the open source programming languages like R or etc. So the quality, no, you know, I think the quality depends on how you like put the colors, different palettes or something like this. Also, for example, ArcMap is a professional, special to just mapping. R is programming, but it's open source, so we can use it. Also, ArcMap is we have another version of ArcMap which is open source. They call it WebGIS. So also you can use that well. But for programming, using programming and R language, I have the experience, and I think the maps that we create are also have a good quality. So we can use them in our scientific writings, in our like company reports everywhere. So it's acceptable and it's very good quality. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for your time. We really enjoy both of you. We learned a lot from you, and I hope to see you soon again in our
Definitely.
meetings, also our meetings. Thank you so much again. Have a
No
nice
problem.
time.
And I just want to say I just want to say happy third anniversary to Our Ladies earlier.
Wow,
You guys
thank
are turning
you.
3. Definitely.
Thank you
Good
so
work.
much.
All right.
Nice
Thank
job.
you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye bye. Thank you.